Hello everyone, welcome to A Clear Perspective. I'm Serene. In our recent episodes, I have mainly been talking about politics. Today I will talk about the economy. First, let's focus on the political battle between Democrats and Republicans in the Congress on raising the U.S. debt ceiling. Then let's talk about some of the moves that China and the U.S. have been taken against cryptocurrencies. Finally, we'll have some updates on Evergrande and Huawei. The House passed a bill Tuesday that would prevent a government shutdown and suspend the debt limit. The chamber approved the plan in a 220 to 211 vote. All Democrats voted for it and all Republicans opposed it. As the bill heads to the Senate, Republicans are threatening to block it, which could leave Democrats scrambling to find another way to avoid a possible default on U.S. debt. Congress has to pass a funding plan by September 30th to prevent a government shutdown. The House passed plan would keep the government running through December 3rd. It would also suspend the debt ceiling into December 2022. The bill would put $28.6 billion toward natural disaster relief and $6.3 billion toward resettlement of Afghan refugees. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has said Republicans will vote for a standalone funding bill, but not legislation with a debt limit suspension attached. The Democrats' proposal to lift the U.S. debt ceiling appears to be a perfect solution for themselves, but it will need at least 10 Republicans' support in order to pass the 60 votes in the Senate. Alternatively, the Democrats can use the reconciliation process, which would only require 51 votes to pass the Senate. But the Democrats have so far refused to use the reconciliation process. Use of the reconciliation process is limited. Democrats can only use it on one more bill this year. Democrats may want to save it for a more difficult tax and spending bill. Republicans feel this is the Democrats' responsibility to raise the debt ceiling alone using budget reconciliation, since that same method was used to pass a $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief bill earlier this year. Democrats, however, have opposed using the method, saying it should be a bipartisan effort. How would Democrats proceed if the bill fails in the Senate? They could attach a debt ceiling suspension to their $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation bill. Doing so would add more steps to an already chaotic and time-consuming process. This means the two parties are in a deadlock right now. Goldman Sachs said in a report last week that the U.S. debt ceiling fight is the riskiest debt limit deadline in a decade, since 2011. In my opinion, it is impossible to default on U.S. debt. It is just a political bargain right now between the two parties. The U.S. debt is already almost $30 trillion. The first thing you need to do is to take a look at the yields on the U.S. bonds, and you will know that no one thinks it will default. If a debt default does indeed happen, the U.S. bond yields will soar. No matter how the U.S. government and the Congress play their game, the result is certainly going to be raising the debt ceiling. There is no other possibility. Next, let's talk about cryptocurrency. On September 23rd, President Biden announced his intent to nominate a law professor, Sally Omarova, to be the comptroller of the currency, OCC, in the Department of Treasury. She has vowed to end big banks and is also a strong critic of cryptocurrencies. If nominated and confirmed, she would be the first woman and a person of color to serve as comptroller. The OCC is part of the United States Department of the Treasury, and the comptroller serves a 5-year term. The OCC comptroller is the chief regulator of U.S. financial institutions. Omarova's nomination is seen as another victory for the progressives in the area of financial regulation, and another politically correct move. Previously, the director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and the chairman of the SEC were both progressive-backed candidates. The progressives in the Democratic Party have been nominating candidates who support strict regulation of financial institutions. In addition, Treasury Department sanctions SUIX, cryptocurrency exchange for laundering ransomware payouts. The action is the first of its kind in the U.S. as the government increases efforts to get a handle on cybercrime. The U.S. Department of Treasury has prohibited anyone in the United States from conducting business with SUIX OTC, a Russian-linked currency exchange. It's registered in the Czech Republic. And China furthered its crackdown on all kinds of cryptos. On September 24th, Chinese authorities reiterated that virtual currency-related business activities are illegal financial activities. China banned financial institutions and non-banking payment institutions from offering Bitcoin services. After the news broke out, the currency reached a new low of 42,000 US$. 10 Chinese government agencies issued official notices to root out cryptocurrency mining activities. In the future, there won't be any cryptocurrency mining industry in China. In my opinion, China banned crypto for two reasons: to prevent money laundering activities and to implement a CCP-controlled digital currency. The CCP could not tolerate cryptocurrency because it wasn't regulated by a central bank. CCP needs to have full control of currency, and they don't want Chinese people to hide their money. The latest update from China Evergrande is that the deadline for the payment of $83.5 million in interest on the dollar bond passed on Thursday. But there has been no remarks from Evergrande, and the bondholders have not received the payment. In other words, from now on, Evergrande will enter a 30-day grace period and will default if it cannot pay after 30 days. Meanwhile, Chinese officials have remained silent about Evergrande's plight, and the official media has not provided any clues about the relief plan. On the contrary, some local governments have started to take actions to freeze the income of Evergrande's local property projects. On September 22nd, the Housing and Urban Rural Development Bureau of Nansha District, Guangzhou City, issued a notice to collect all revenues from Evergrande's local property project into a government's special account. The Housing and the Construction Committee of Jiangjin District, Chongqing City, has also set up a special working group to deal with the Evergrande issue. It also froze the funds of Evergrande's projects there. This trend will likely become the pattern of working groups on Evergrande in different regions. In this way, Evergrande's valuable assets and liquidity will be frozen by local governments, and Evergrande will be paralyzed immediately. Next, we are going to discuss another hot news today. Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou has officially reached an agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice and will be able to return to mainland China. According to several media reports, Meng had a virtual appearance in the District Court of the Eastern District of New York on the afternoon of September 24th. The U.S. Department of Justice has reached an agreement with Meng, the details of which have not been made public. It is reported that Meng had pleaded guilty and paid a fine. However, we don't know the details yet. Now she already left Canada, and 2 detained Canadians have been released by China. The 2 Canadians have been in Chinese custody for 1,019 days that were largely viewed as a retaliatory response to Canada's arrest of Meng Wanzhou. It seems like the Department of Justice has in fact bowed to the CCP's hostage diplomacy. It is a setback to the U.S. national image. However, with the current administration, we can hardly expect a Trump-like example of diplomacy that can bring hostages back home without costing a dime. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time.